In today's episode of the Platform Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Brandon Ausbrooks. He's hailing over as the marketing operations manager at ArcSite. And if you haven't heard about ArcSite, it's a very interesting company. I'd say we want to really dive in who is benefiting the most from it. If you're familiar with CAD drawings, that might be something you might have actually heard about ArcSite. So basically, they are basically improving the workflow with very precise and professional drawings as it stays on the website. And today we're going to be launching in who's using the platform and how Brandon is thinking about growth for the tool. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, give us, that 360 overview. The website says the future of CAD is here. What is ArcSite all about?
Yeah. So ArcSite is a mobile drawing and estimating app, mostly targeted towards residential contractors. So they can go to the job, they have their iPad, draw out the job, insert their products they're going to be using on the site, and then it automatically creates a proposal and material list, like right as you draw your picture. So it's a really, streamlined way for people to get those customized estimates out.
Very cool. Could you tell us, a little bit of, you mentioned a little bit the types of companies that are using it, but maybe shed a bit of light on it, like who's using it, which types of companies are they from, so we can have a good understanding of, who's benefiting the most from ArcSite.
Yeah. So we target residential contracting companies. So think, gutters, fences, people that come to your house and do work, but maybe aren't like general contractors that build the home. And really we're targeting, business owners that really want to grow their business, but maybe find themselves being too entrenched in the day-to-day. Really the big thing that we find is the people that have a ton of industry knowledge in their head from doing the job for 20, 30 years. They kind of want to take themselves out of the business and let it grow and run on its own. So really what ArcSite does is it allows them to kind of get all of their information, all of their pricing, all of their, SOPs and all that good stuff into the hands of their salesmen. So they can go and, not worry about miscalculations on the job site or, missing something that is crucial for a job. So it just helps replicate those types of owners.
Very cool. That makes sense. What would you say, like, how do these, people hear about ArcSite? Like, what are sort of the key client acquisition channels, maybe in the journey that these guys are going through in order to learn about ArcSite and getting started?
For sure. So somewhere around 50% of our business comes in from inbound channels. So the majority of that is our website. So, SEO is a big channel. Organic traffic is definitely a big channel. And we have some paid search as well that comes through the website. But another channel was a lot more important to the business a couple of years ago and is, still kind of a driver is leads that come in through the Apple App Store. So right now we're only on iOS devices. We're hoping to launch later this year in Windows and Android. But for right now, we actually have, probably 25% of our B2B clients actually come in through a free trial through the App Store.
Yep. Okay. Interesting. That is an interesting dynamic. So it's switching more from the App Store to the website in itself and people discovering you on search and the likes.
Yeah. So the business kind of has two wings. We have a B2C and a B2B. So with the App Store, we get a large chunk of that is obviously B2C consumers, that just want to draw out their basement, they're renovating their home, something like that. So they get their use out of the app. But with our website, we can obviously have much more targeted content, education, really educate visitors about what we do and who we're for. So that way we kind of bring in more qualified business-minded customers into the doors.
That makes sense. I mean, you showed that, there's a lot of traffic going, or a lot of the business going through the website. Maybe, tell us a little bit more how you think about the website. You're in marketing operations, like sort of what do you consider like a strength of the current website versus where do you see even, room for further development and improvement?
So the strength that we have right now, we actually, we have pretty good SEO for the specific industries that we're going for. So that's definitely a huge strength. We're on the front page for a lot of our target keywords for our handful of industries that we 100% target all the time. So I think that's really great. My focus as a marketing ops leader is to, handle the leads when they come in and kind of nurture them along the sales journey. So right now, honestly, a good chunk of our web leads that come in are much further along the buyer's journey than, maybe the traditional funnel would let you, believe. But so we get a lot of people searching for like estimate software or mobile estimate software. So then they're really, they know the problem that they're having, they know the solution that they're looking for, and we, make our case at that point. So I think something that we are working on as a team and something that would help us is that higher funnel, getting more people to the site where we can let it educate and, bring them along the journey.
Very cool. I mean, you were speaking about the buyer journey there, obviously a concept that we talk a lot about in the podcast. I'm curious, what have you learned in regards to, that can be with, ArcSite, can be in previous roles, maybe any approaches, methods, tools that help in order to figure out why people do or do not convert on the website?
Yeah, wow, that's a loaded question. So something that I've learned, especially in this job, is everybody is at their own point in the journey, right? Nobody fits that cookie cutter mold that everybody says, oh, they come in at this point of the funnel and they work their way through. They're going to watch this webinar, they're going to read this, white paper, and then they're going to want to see a demo, right? Everybody's coming in with their own knowledge, their own past searches and all that good stuff that's educating, where they are. So using a platform we use HubSpot for everything. That's our CRM, our CMS and everything. So having like that one central platform really helps us map out different buyer's journeys for all sorts of people, right? So we have a lot of information about what they're doing on the site, what they're doing in the app, what forms they filled out, what content they've been consuming of ours. So we have a good idea of how to take each node and bring them along to the right place.
Very cool. You mentioned, where people are, where they're prior, what they're researching in the podcast. It's been coming up in recent shows a bit that, people started to talk more about the cookieless future. Cookies going to go away. Retargeting is going to be more challenging. Is that something, that because, it's obviously very strong topic in the e-commerce space, do you as a sort of lead marketer, do you start thinking about this kind of stuff already, or how do you think about it?
So I personally don't handle like our ad side of things. But, in our team conversations, we're still, first party cookies are still going to be around. So we're definitely still going to have that information for people that actually come to our site. Honestly, we have a lot of trouble targeting our audiences anyway on social or other ad, platforms. Okay. So, we do rely on retargeting right now, but we are aware that changes are coming. I'm not in the day-to-day of that.
That makes sense. No worries. I was more curious because it's been mentioned in the recent shows a little bit. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, that gives us an interesting insight into how you're thinking about growth and the role of the website. I would love to switch gears a little bit and learn more about yourself and your journey as a marketer. What I'm curious is, there's a lot of content out there, obviously, on growth marketing, on even on the subtopic of marketing ops, right? There's more and more content being generated. How do you sort of filter? What is sort of your platforms that you like to read, or people you trust a lot? Like, how do you filter that massive content out there?
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good question, because that's something I've been thinking about more and more, because there's just so much everywhere. Like, who do you trust? So I do have a handful of people that I, follow on Twitter, is where I spend a good amount of my time. I think that's honestly one of the best platforms for people in marketing, because there's just constant information. You can have, really in-depth conversations with leaders from all sorts of industries. So, there's a handful of people like in the marketing app space. Sarah McNamara is someone I listen to and read her stuff a lot. She's she's a Salesforce admin and works for Slack now, which is obviously owned by Salesforce. So lots of good information from her. Obviously the big people, Seth Godin, Dave Gerhardt. Sastra is a big platform that I read, but I kind of aggregate a bunch of stuff on a platform like a, what's it called? Like Feedly, use RSS feed to aggregate a bunch of different information.
Very cool. Yeah, that gives us an insight. As we slowly sort of moving towards the end of the interview, I would have some rapid fire questions to get to know you and your journey a bit better. Are you ready for those?
Sure. Yeah.
What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
Last book I read. Oh man. Okay. The last book I read was, it's in there. It's From Impossible to Inevitable. It's by Jason Lemkin and another person that I can't think of their name right now. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's about kind of what they've learned in their SaaS journey. We're actually reading it as a marketing team. We kind of have like a book club.
That's pretty cool. It's Aaron Ross, actually.
Aaron Ross, yes.
Very cool. What's one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Systems. We're in a point in our journey where we're really trying to, find what works, double down on it, systematize it, and make sure that we're ready to, scale up when the time comes. So
if there would be no boundaries in tech, what would be the one thing that you would fix for your role today?
I think reporting is a big roadblock for a small, like if I had a reporting person in our org, that'd be great. But something that I can quickly look at, understand, not spend hours, putting together every week or even for the initial setup. I think reporting in the marketing ops space is a challenge for sure.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
We have issues with lead quality sometimes. So, and it seems like it's a big challenge to really work through those. So that's something that does keep me up quite a bit is, how do we understand more about these people that, aren't traditional buyers? And how do we take the little amount of data that we have about them and actually utilize it to qualify them accurately?
And for the very last question, I would like to do a little bit of time travel and go back to the days of Michigan State, if you allow. So, so getting out of formal education now into the world of, marketing and growth marketing. What's the one advice you would give yourself?
Take a chance, believe in yourself a little bit more than you do. When I first left school, I actually went to a very safe job. I went to like a very old school accounting firm. I was doing business development for them. It was the safe option, but I wish I would have been like, I learned a lot, but I wish I would have taken more of a risk at that point. But honestly, the biggest thing I took out from school was not what I learned, but more how to learn. I've learned so much more doing the actual work than I ever could have learned in college.
That makes sense. Brendan, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be, forgetting all that we discussed about ArcSite, what's the one thing they should remember?
They should remember that we are a great team, always hiring. So always looking for growth-minded individuals, but we're really invested in what we do and helping, contractors be the best that they can, get the best experience for the homeowners as well.
Very cool. Yeah. And for that plug, you can head over to arcsite.com if you're interested from what you were hearing. And they have a nice career section and about us section on the website. There you go. Brendan, appreciate you being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lucas. It was a pleasure.